Welcome back. Today we're doing a deep dive into the really fast-moving world of TV, film, and media.
Yeah, it feels like things are shifting constantly.
Exactly. We've got a whole stack of news here, everything from, big studio strategies to what's winning at festivals overseas.
Mm,
So our mission really is to cut through the noise, pull out the most important bits, the surprises, and kind of look at the underlying trends shaping everything.
and there's a lot to cover. It's fascinating seeing the range from huge blockbusters right down to, well, much smaller, maybe more experimental stuff.
Okay, so let's jump right in. First up, this interesting dynamic between, let's say, big money and creative vision.
Right.
Take Jake Schreier. Amazing series Beef, critically acclaimed.
Fantastic show.
But while he was doing that, he was apparently spending months, literally months, pitching a Marvel project.
Wow.
And not just like a vague idea. We're talking detailed storyboards, concept art, really digging into themes of tension and distrust.
That's serious dedication.
Yeah.
Pitching at that level while directing something as intense as Beef.
It really makes you think about the drive needed, doesn't it? To get that specific vision across for a massive project.
Absolutely. It highlights that deep planning, that really clear artistic statement you often need for those big studio gigs.
Yeah, which makes this next point kind of interesting as a contrast. Universal Television.
Okay.
They're reportedly looking more towards scripted shows under, what, $5 million an episode?
Uh-huh. Lower budget.
Yeah, definitely lower by comparison. And it sounds like it's a response to demand, Audiences wanting engaging stories that don't necessarily need enormous production budgets.
Well, and sometimes those constraints, they actually push creativity, don't they?
How so?
Well, if you can't just throw money at spectacle,
Yeah.
you have to double down on the writing, the characters, the performances. It becomes about smart storytelling.
That's a great point. It's a different kind of problem solving.
Exactly. Different tools, different focus.
Which actually brings us nicely to this whole content versus marketing thing.
Ah, yes, the age-old question.
So get this. La Maison on Apple TV Plus. Critics seem to love it, right? 92% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Pretty impressive score.
But the executive producer apparently ripped into Apple's marketing, called it the worst in the universe. Strong words.
Ouch. It's blunt.
He even compared it unfavorably to the agency over on Paramount Plus guys, saying, that show got visibility.
It really throws that question into sharp relief, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Can amazing content actually succeed if people don't know it exists?
Yeah. How vital is that platform push, the marketing muscle?
It's incredibly tough out there. So much content. Even critically acclaimed stuff can just get drowned out if the platform doesn't, put it front and center somehow.
It makes you wonder about the different strategies streamers use. Some seem better at discovery than others.
Definitely. Visibility is key.
Okay, switching gears completely now. Silence.
Silence.
Yeah, there's this new UK game show, Silence is Golden. 75 people in an audience, all mic'd up. And they have to stay completely silent. If anyone makes a sound, a cough, a giggle, anything, 10,000 pounds gets knocked off the prize pot.
Wow. 10,000 pounds per sound. What's the total prize?
£250,000. 250,000 pounds.
That is high-stakes silence.
Right. And the craziest part, the format's already been sold to 4 other countries before it's even aired in the UK.
Get out. Really?
Yeah, it just shows the power of a simple, super high concept, high tension idea, I guess.
It's instantly understandable, isn't it? The tension is built right in, everyone trying not to react. I can see the appeal that international pre-sale is telling.
Yeah, it suggests something universally compelling about that pressure. And sticking with unscripted for a sec, Hulu seems to be really pushing into reality TV more.
Oh, yeah.
They've apparently set up a specific unit for it. They have the Kardashians, obviously, but also seeing success with things like The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Right, branching out.
Seems like a deliberate move to broaden their unscripted slate. People just keep watching these kinds of shows, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
I mean, while everyone loves prestige scripted drama, these unscripted formats, especially the ones with a unique hook or access to, interesting lives, they're really valuable for streamers. They pull people in and keep them subscribed.
Good point. Okay, let's talk theaters. The eternal debate.
Always simmering, isn't it?
Rian Johnson. He's been very clear he wants his next Knives Out movie, Wake Up Dead Man it's called, to get a proper wide theatrical release.
Yeah, I saw that. He's a big cinema guy.
But then you have Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos, who's called the theatrical model, quote, outdated.
Polar opposites, really.
Johnson pushes back, though, says he loves movies. People do still show up for films they care about, points to recent box office hits.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Two totally different philosophies on how to best launch and, well, monetize a film today. Johnson's focused on that cultural event, the shared experience.
Right.
Sarandos, presumably, is thinking more about immediate global access on the platform.
And just to add another wrinkle, executives from Prime Video, speaking at this Wave Summit in Mumbai, they actually talked up the magical quality of going to the movies. So even within the streaming world, there isn't one single view.
No, definitely not. It feels like everyone's still figuring it out, experimenting. There's no settled answer yet on the ideal distribution strategy.
It really highlights the uncertainty. Now, something more concrete.
Yeah.
The economic impact of where things get made.
Location, location, location.
There's a report out estimating California lost out big time, like $178 million in GDP, over 800 jobs, $87 million in wages.
Wow. From what?
Because Moana 2 moved its production to Vancouver.
Oof. That's significant.
Yeah, and it comes just as California is debating animation tax credits. There are warnings that without competitive incentives, the whole animation industry there could really suffer.
It just shows how crucial those incentives are, doesn't it? These are big mobile productions. They'll go where the finances make sense.
Exactly. Those tax credits can make or break a decision.
It's a clear demonstration of the direct economic benefits these productions bring to a region. Losing one like Moana 2 really drives that home.
And looking globally, you see investment flowing elsewhere, too. In India, Godrej Fund Management is partnering with the state government there to build a huge $236 million media campus in Maharashtra. The whole idea is to boost local content creation, create jobs.
That's a massive investment. It reflects that growing understanding, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That local production, local stories are increasingly important, especially as streaming goes global.
Which is the perfect lead-in to this whole theme of global voices and local stories.
Yeah, a really key trend.
At Italy's Far East Film Festival, films from Greater China did really well with audiences. Her Story won the top award after it was already a hit in China. And then at Hot Docs, this documentary, Poppy, about a son in India dealing with corruption while his mother runs a poppy farm, a really specific local story. It won Best International Feature Documentary. The jury praised how powerful it was.
That's fantastic. It shows these deeply rooted stories can absolutely resonate internationally. It's about the quality of the storytelling, the human element.
Right. And that was exactly the message coming out of that Wave Summit in Mumbai we mentioned.
Right.
Industry leaders there were really hammering this point. Authentic, local stories can connect globally. They used Netflix India's Hiramandi as an example.
Makes sense.
They even talked about needing good stary listeners, people who can identify and champion those powerful local narratives.
I like that phrase, story listeners.
Yeah. And related to that, JioStar in India, they're pouring money into content. Expected to spend over $4 billion by 2026.
$4 billion, that's huge.
Wow.
Just shows the scale and growth in that regional market.
Absolutely. And it's not just India. Even at Cannes series, Norwegian shows were apparently making a big splash. It just reinforces this idea of a global appetite for diverse stories from everywhere.
It really feels like a shift away from trying to make sort of generic international content towards celebrating specificity and authenticity. That's what seems to be traveling now.
Yeah, exactly. Now, navigating all this change,
Right.
requires strategy, right?
For sure.
The outgoing CEO of Channel 4 in the UK, Alex Mahon, she called for UK broadcasters to collaborate more. She even floated the idea of a streamer tariff.
A tariff. To do what?
To basically help fund independent production, keep British content sustainable against the might of the global streamers. She pointed out that indies often prefer working with broadcasters anyway because they get to keep their intellectual property, their IP.
The IP issue, that's always a big one. So it's about maintaining a healthy local ecosystem.
Seems like it. And elsewhere, like at that Far East Film Festival again, they honored Hong Kong legends Sui Hark and Sylvia Chang. But there were also discussions about how hard it is now for art house films to get distributed.
Post-pandemic challenges still lingering there.
Yeah, it feels like different regions are wrestling with similar problems, how to sustain local creativity and identity in this, massive globalized media world.
It's a balancing act, isn't it? Finding models that support both creativity and financial viability, especially for smaller players and distinct cultural voices.
Definitely. So just wrapping up with a few quick hits on opportunities and endings.
Okay.
There's a new film and TV expo launching in Birmingham. Sounds like lots of networking, pitching events, good for emerging talent.
Opportunities?
Submissions are open for seriously Berlin screenings. They're looking for bold, binge-worthy stuff.
Always looking for the next big thing.
On the flip side, CBS canceled The Equalizer after 5 seasons. Viewership declines cited.
Happens to even establish shows.
And then just a glimpse of projects coming up. Tilda Cobham-Hervey's making her feature directing debut. Julia Garner's starring in a Netflix series about the FTX collapse.
Oh, interesting.
Chloe Sevigny apparently wants to revisit her American Psycho character.
Really?
And there's a new Western coming with Samuel L. Jackson and Pierce Brosnan called The Unholy Trinity. So, the wheel keeps turning. New projects starting, others ending.
It's the constant churn of the industry, isn't it? Always developing, always launching, always evolving based on what audiences are watching.
So yeah, pulling it all together from this deep dive, several things really stand out, I think.
Go on.
You've got that constant push-pull between budget and creativity. You've got the absolute necessity of marketing great content isn't enough on its own.
Definitely not.
The enduring appeal of really engaging formats, whether that's high-stakes reality or, intense silence on a game show. The whole theatrical debate isn't going away anytime soon, clearly showing different visions for film's future.
Still very much up in the air.
Then there's the real-world economics where shows get made matters hugely. And maybe the biggest theme, the rising power and global reach of diverse local stories.
That feels like a fundamental shift. Authenticity travels.
Yeah, so the whole industry is just constantly changing. Lots of challenges, but also, really exciting opportunities for creators and for us as viewers.
It's never dull, that's for sure. Always something new happening, new models being tried.
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. As all these lines keep blurring between TV and film, streaming and theatrical, global and local, what do you think will actually define successful content in the next few years? What kind of stories, what kind of experiences are really going to cut through all the noise and grab people's attention?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it?
Yep.
Something to think about.